It's now time for Monster Soup, with your really fun at parties host, Dave Spencer, and his level-headed co-host, Brian McKinney. These dudes will explore all the crazy mysteries roaming off forest and deserted hallways. After all, monsters are real. It's Monster Soup time right now. Get it while it's hot. Now your hosts, Dave and Brian.
Why, hello. Welcome to Monster Soup, a kitchen of conversation for misfits, cryptids, and these kids. I am David Spencer, your host, and with me as always, on the beach, they call him the Bastard Baster, but we call him Brian McKinney.
Hello.
How you doing, buddy?
Good. That was a good one. I was not expecting that.
I'm thinking something beach themed. My Ohio skin felt sun for the first time in 6 months. Just got back from vacation, so I'm actually this morning woke up at 3 a.m, been hanging out all day, rotting on my couch watching. What was I watching today? I was trying to watch Daredevil, the new Daredevil, and then I just was. It was too bright out in my living room, and I just could not see the TV because the whole thing was just like dark, and I was just like, I don't. All I can see is my windows right now, so I just turned it off. And then I forget what I watched. Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which was much better. But yeah, so I'm post vacation, post cruise, Dave. I don't know how I feel about cruises. They were cool. I did have a good time. I do have a problem with like not being able to like explore like in the morning, which is what I like to do. But there was like a 10 out of 10 moment where you like have your coffee and you're like sitting on a deck, like looking out at like 7 a.m. because I can't sleep on vacations ever. So I'm just like sitting there like drinking, and I'm just like, this is really nice. Really enjoy this. So
this is a nice view. Yeah.
Yeah. It was incredible. I was like, oh yeah. And then, but like, we had like long days and stuff like that. So like my wife would go to bed early, and I'm a night owl and a morning person. So like, I'm just like up at both those hours trying to fill time. And I like would go to the comedy club by myself. And then like, I would go like, just like wander. I watched like, what is it? The Fall Guy that was playing on like the deck, like the one with Ryan. Yeah, Ryan Gosling, and I was just like, I'll watch this movie by myself.
Yeah, those deck movies like late at night, those are awesome.
Yeah, they're fun. It was a good way to spend some time. I like it. So our plan of smuggling in vodka worked really well for like the first day, and then like day like 2 we're like, I'd love a beer. So we were just like we abandoned our vodka plans like pretty quick because I just like. You gotta switch your drinks up. So we were just like, let's just get a bucket of beers. Which everything was like, was that?
I was gonna say sometimes you just gotta have a beer,
I know, man. Like, and the prices weren't like crazy bad. Like, I'm used to like Put-in-Bay prices, so I just assumed everything was gonna be like that. Put-in-Bay is an island near our town, for people who don't know. And it's just so expensive there, so I was just like, everything's gonna be really expensive, and it wasn't super bad. So that was fun. And then
it just starts to add up, when you're on like a 7-day cruise, and you're drinking all day, especially like on the sea days. That's when it really starts to add up on you.
Yeah. But like we went to the restaurant and got like a bottle of wine that we split together that was like $20, which is totally fine for wine.
Yeah.
So, especially at like a restaurant, essentially. But we had a blast. I mean, like I said, the only thing it was kind of one of those things that was like, you had to do the activities, which I don't know. I just feel like kind of boxed in. It was like, you have to do this. And I was like, okay, but what if I would do something else? They're like, too bad. I'm like, okay. I'm sure there's like other cruises that maybe like different. I did go to the nightclub at one point. And I was the only white boy dancing, which I usually am.
Yeah. It was surprised that.
Not only was I the only white boy dancing, I was the only person dancing. But the music was
awesome.
The music was awesome.
Not a surprise.
There was like tons of people there. They're all around the dance floor, and the music was amazing. And I'm just like, so I'm dancing off to the side because I'm just like, no one's dancing. I didn't want to be like front and center, with everything. But I'm like, I'm loving this music, so I'm just dancing, having a good time. This couple came up to me like, you need to get out there, and I'm like, I know, but like, I don't want to feel like an idiot and to be stared at. I'm not here to show anybody up. I'm just dancing. I'm just enjoying this music and dancing. So I'm just dancing off the side. And then I drank enough drinks where I was like, you know what, screw these people. If they're gonna be boring, they can stay boring. And I just like went out there and I started dancing, having blasty, and then yeah, so it was super fun. But yeah, we were just kind of like doing all that, and like the next day, people were like, you made it out. We're like, you were awesome last night. Whatever, just doing that whole thing. But yeah, we had really good time. I met this lady who was like on the what was it, the deck, or no, she was coming down the elevator with us, and then she like went through this whole thing. She's like, yeah, I came here alone. She's like, I didn't know. She's like, I was supposed to come here with somebody, but I got heartbroken, this whole thing. And so I came on this trip alone. She's like, I got a bunch of texts when I was here, when I got to Mexico, that were like, Mom, where are you? And apparently like she never told her kids she was going to Mexico.
Oh no.
They're just like, it's been like 5 days, where are you? And she's like, I'm in Mexico. They're like, oh, they thought she was dead. And I'm like, oh my
gosh, yeah, that'd be scary.
you
guys had some good weather.
Yeah. I mean, obviously there's like the best. It was the best weather like the whole time, just like hot and hot as you need to be, cool at night. Mexico was just like humid as hell, but in a good way. We went snorkeling not long enough. Everything's just like really quick. It was like, let's go to a chocolate tour. All right, that's over. Go to the tequila tour. That's over. All right, we're going snorkeling. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like, it was crazy going snorkeling because we went out and it was just like immediately fish. Like, I just assumed like I'd put my goggles down and like swim out a bunch and there'd be like fish there. I literally like, we're still in standing water and I put my goggles underwater and there's just like fish. I mean, it's, no pun intended, but like literally just like they were on the shore and I was just like, oh my gosh. But yeah, it was super cool. But pretty much like we went out and they're like, all right, come on back. I'm like, what? What do you mean? All right. So but yeah, it was it was really cool. We had a good time. And then we got back to Tampa and just like went in the beach again for like one last day, because we had our flight was like 3 a.m. So yeah, I'm kind of dragging today. Not dragging, just like I feel like I just want to, even though it's a little hot today in Ohio, surprisingly enough, I am just kind of like in sweatpants mood. Just like I could just sit here and rot forever.
Yeah.
So
it was like as soon as you guys left, the weather got nice here, and it's been nice. Yeah, I'm warm every day.
Upset by that. Very upset by that. I came back, my lawn was like the longest ever. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We actually got some nutrients. But yeah. I don't know. What have you been up to? What's your week look like?
Not much went on this week. Went up to college, visit my daughter last weekend, and then just kind of got back and getting ready mostly for next weekend. Next weekend's our big Ohio Bigfoot conference / guys weekend.
Yeah, I just put in for the day that we take off on Friday, so it'll be hopefully very, very cool. Hopefully we'll meet a bunch of cool people that we can then coerce into being on our podcast.
Yeah,
we're like, somebody tells a story, we're like, no way, okay.
Yeah, we'll be like, we already know your story. You told it to us 3 years ago, but could you tell it again on the podcast?
Yeah. Do you want to just like hang out for an hour and kick it? So yeah, I'm very excited about that. We dragged a couple other. We just have one extra person, right, this year?
Yeah.
Who's never been there? Yeah. So our friend Matt's coming, and we'll get to introduce him to all the fun stuff. Oh, what's up, Octopus No Friends? Haven't seen you well. What's up, buddy? See you in the chat. But yeah, it should be really fun. I mean, we'll get to be on. Usually it became after what 3 years now, it's pretty much just us hanging out with our friends. So it's less of the stories and more of the like, oh, hey, it's you again. Which is honestly my favorite.
Yeah, just catching up with some friends we see once a year, but they got good speakers this year, and the flea market's always fun. It's always interesting stuff with that.
Always, yeah.
The food trucks and all the festivities.
Yeah, we always generate some stories, and hopefully just pick up a few friends along the way, a few stragglers that happen to get into my gaze, and I'm like, come here. Let me talk to you about science. And they're like, okay.
Well, that's what we got 2 doctors this time. we got Dr. Meldrum from Idaho State University, who he's on all the shows. Everybody knows Dr. Meldrum. And then Dr. Esteban Ceramento, who was there last year. I don't know if he was just an MC or if he just, I can't remember why he wasn't scheduled to be there that I know of, but he just was there anyway. But he was fun to talk to, and but he
which
was
one's that again? I always blank on people's names.
Dr. Esteban. He worked at like the American Museum of History, and he's studies like skeletons of hominoids and things like that.
Oh, yeah. I remember that guy.
It's like anthropology, biology, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But he was down. He went on the hike with us and was kind of around, but I don't remember if he actually spoke or not. But
yeah,
I think
I
he was just there
him out a lot.
Yeah.
I think he ran the fire too, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
the fireside chat and stuff.
Yeah,
that was really fun.
Yeah,
I got to meet him when I was hanging out with Doug because he was out by Doug, and then he was sitting across, and then Doug ended up being like, "Oh, get us all a round of beers. He's like, you want something?" I was like, "Yeah." I think this is before I even knew Doug. I was just literally sitting next to him, and he offered me a beer, and I was like, "This guy's cool." Little did I know it was me working for him a little bit. But yeah, so he was really nice. Seemed like he had some stories.
Then Cliff and Renee from Finding Bigfoot will be there, and
Breedlove,
from Small Town Monsters, he's going to be there, and
that's the guy who looks like Motorhead guy, right?
No, it's he's a guest on the Small Town Monsters.
Oh, okay. I'm terrible with names. You could have mixed all those names up, and I'm like,
you're thinking of Lyle Blackburn. And he's fun too. But he's a writer and stuff, so he writes a lot of the books, and he does a lot of the narration for them on some of their movies. So he's always into Small Town Monster stuff. But yeah, it'll be cool. It's gonna be lots of fun, and then we'll have to get Matt's reaction, because he's not necessarily a believer. He's more on the fence with everything, and it'll be interesting to see his opinion on things, and after he gets drop some knowledge on him, and we'll see what's up.
Drop some knowledge on him. Be like, listen, you got to talk to this guy. We'll give everybody the fresh meat scenario. Be like, listen, he's never heard your story. Tell it up.
Yep.
That's when the good stuff starts happening.
Heck yeah, man. It's gonna be so fun. And then the last I saw, the weather's supposed to be real nice too. So
heck yeah, dude. I don't think we've been there when it hasn't ever been like bad. It's always been like at least decent. So I'm hoping that trend continues. I think it was a little rainy last year, but like never
it was always been warm. Yeah.
It was always like it happened like the day, and it was like we were already inside it already. Anyway, so it never mattered. So hopefully we'll get to schmooze a couple people, and then maybe we'll have a little more clout this year to maybe interfere with some more like I don't know, maybe we'll go to the dinner. Wait, isn't there like a whole thing with the dinner? I feel like we were like, let's not go to the dinner because it's like
there's a dinner Friday night that you buy a ticket for.
That's what it was.
But we didn't get that because we are still debating about it, and we still are, whether or not we're going to try to do the podcast from there, or if it'd be nice to do it live from there.
I'll just have to
but we're not really sure about the internet connection and things like that because we're out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and I don't want to be like live at 5. You're like, sorry guys.
We're like, the internet sucks. We'll catch you next week. So
maybe I don't know what it'd be like trying to upload like a podcast like last minute like that would be. It'd be like, because it already takes a while from my internet like to upload the podcast, so I can't imagine. It would be better out there. I'd be like running around.
I guess everybody will find out if it worked or not. If we're live next week, you'll know it worked.
If we're live next week, it all worked out. If we're not live next week on YouTube, you know that we were like, I don't know how this is working. If there's no show, everything fell apart.
And then we'll do a recap the following week. But I think it'd be fun to try to go live there. Maybe we could pull on a couple of guests or something.
Yeah.
Everybody will be coming in, around dinner time on Friday.
Yeah, maybe we can get like a rolling mic where people just like come in. 6-hour show. I don't know. Yeah.
You're like,
the
hello,
one
my
thing,
name's Dave Spencer. Can you tell me your story real quick?
they'll be like,
Just stick the mic in their face as they're walking in to check into the lodge.
Well, actually, that'd be kind of cool to have a walking podcast. Just get like a friggin' like a GoPro like connected to a microphone and just like walk around interviewing people. It's like a shaky mic. People are like, "This is like Blair Witch." It's weird stories. Everything's going all haywire. That'd be great. Yeah, I'm excited to see our friends April and her wife. It's always fun running into her. We just like vibe so well. She's just super, super cool. And you know, ever since we like first met them, we were just like, what are you doing? I don't know what you're doing. I was also on one that night, just like straight up, just like ripping bangers for like an hour. she's like, I haven't spoken at all. Like you just like are like killing me right now. I was like,
Then you're like, well, I can carry on a conversation with myself.
Listen, I just need an audience. The fact that you're here is neither here nor there. Yeah, especially when like just in conversation rip mode. Like I always say, like the end of this podcast, I'm like, I feel like I'm just getting started. Like I really this thing's really kind of popping off now. But then we have like shows after this and stuff that I don't want to interfere with. The one thing I did tell people about my kids about. So we were driving through Mexico, or you know, Cozumel, which is still Mexico, I guess. But we're driving through the island, getting to the Mayan ruins, and at the excursion, and just like the place is just hit. I mean, like for, you know, either from hurricanes or just extreme poverty and all that stuff. But I just like looked over. I just want to let you guys know that, like, do you see this? I was like, you know, when I say be appreciative of the things that you have, I was just like, these kids don't have Switches. You know, there's no Nintendos here. This is, you know, like this is like a different world. And you need to know that when you say like, oh, something's bad, you know, like that's like just something I kind of like kept thinking about. I was like, oh, you know, because I mean, there's just like a building that just looks like a bomb hit it, and they're just like hanging clothes there. You know, there's like somebody obviously lives there. And that was like a lot of the place. Actually, the restaurant we went to, it looked just like completely dilapidated. I was like, where are we going? Because it just looked like a junkyard. And we walk inside and it's like nice. You know, you're like, oh, it's like a big hut. You know, it looks like cool. And I was like, oh, this is like really, really nice inside. From the road, I would have never thought that this was what the inside looked like. So it has that whole like, I don't know, Doctor Who setting where you're like, whoa, it's expansive and amazing.
Yeah, it's always interesting when you travel to places like that. You know, it really gives you perspective on how differently we live than they do. And you know, the things where like we can't live without this. So then you see these people, and it's like, well, look at them. They literally are doing that every day. And
every single day.
And you know, here we're, you know, complaining about stupid stuff.
Yeah, like, oh my gosh, gotta get a haircut today, and then after that, I gotta go to the pharmacy, and then oh man, my something little, you know, my phone stopped working for 5 seconds. It's just like this guy's just like looking at the roof that is not there, and he's like, "Wow, it sounds like you're having a bad day." There's first world problems. You have to remember that. You have to always kind of remind yourself that first world problems are like sincerely like not an issue. Whatever you're worried about, there is somebody, and obviously like everybody lives in their own little like world of like their trauma, and they're like, you know, like what you go through is all you know, unless you've, you know, like your wife who's a social worker who literally has seen the worst of it. You know, you know, you have to kind of remind yourself of that. But like, you know, people like me and you, we don't see that kind of aggressive trauma every day. You know, you probably even see it more than I do because you're insurance and stuff. So just one of those things where you have to kind of like remind yourself like, oh yeah, things can be bad.
It's not like when what we think is bad is not bad.
Little shout out to Money Mike. What's going on in the comments? But yeah, I don't know. So all that to say, I did go to the Mayan Ruins this weekend, and we had talked about maybe talking about the Mayan culture and, you know, maybe the things that are surrounded upon it and stuff like that. I'd like to lead into this by saying the Mayan culture is very, very cool. In no disrespect do I have for any of the things that we will kind of theorize about this. So I do think there's a lot of things that we are capable of as human beings. So we're just going on a little thought experiment and ideas that are kind of being thrown around. The Mayan culture was just absolutely amazing, and it's just completely decimated. It doesn't really exist anymore, except through like stories and like even the guy who was our tour guide, he was an ancestor of the Mayans, and he was just talking about that and just kind of being like, my grandma knew that language, and she, like, I know it sort of, but like it's gonna die soon because like the youth aren't really trying to keep that culture as much as like the culture before that. And there's always going to be somebody who maybe will just like keep pass the torch and keep that kind of sacred, and hopefully we have enough educational retention where people can go like, oh, I've actually cataloged a lot of this, we still have that information. But it'd be really sad to see that go, regardless of what state it's in and stuff like that. So and actually the one guy said on the trip, it was really sad because the place we went to, it was ruins, so like there wasn't a lot of structures that were like fully there anymore, but the ones that were there were dynamited out because they were like trying to find gold. They were just like, there's obviously gold under here, so like why would they build these big structures if there wasn't a treasure? So they would dynamite them and there'd be nothing. Just like, oh my gosh, you just like wrecked all this history just to find some money. Like, oh, it's so gross. I remember seeing. Oh, good. I
was gonna say, were you exclusively on Cozumel, or did you go to the mainland? Or
I wish I would have went to the mainland because it was the guy who was giving the tour was really interesting. Found some cute dogs. There was 2 dogs there that were the laziest dogs I've ever seen in my life. And I was just like, originally, like, I was like, is that dog dead? Because he was just sleeping so lovingly, and I was just like, that dog has surely died of heat stroke. And then like I looked at his breath, and then it was raising and lowering. And I was like, okay, he's just super chill. I'm not used to a dog that like isn't reacting to people like that much, because they're just there's no collars, they're just kind of, they can wander. I don't know if they were strays or there's kind of like pets to the thing or whatever. There was actually 2 people that were in our group, and they were looking over, and there was like, is that someone's dog? Should we talk to somebody? Should we tell? And I had to be like, hey, no, they're stray dogs. They're allowed to be here. They know they're here. They're allowed to wander. It's fine. But they didn't have a concept of like dogs like that just kind of
roam the neighborhood.
Yeah, they're literally like sleeping on the steps. Like just that entire space is their home. So, but yeah, it was really funny just the way they're like, which I'm very sad that I didn't get the Coke from there. Apparently, not Coke, Coca-Cola. Because apparently it tastes different, and I didn't know that, and we were just so dehydrated. It was so hot that day, and then we just kind of did our trip. We got Gatorades and left, and then the one guy was like, oh, you didn't get the Coca-Cola? I'm like, no. And he was like, oh, it's so good there because they make it with like the real like stuff. It's not like sugars like an American. I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, I'm so sad. So we missed out an opportunity there. So just like you can get Kit Kat bars in Canada and they taste different. We could have done that in Mexico, but we lost an opportunity. But we did get some. What was it? Some chocolate tequila. Like what was it? Espresso tequila, I guess. And that guy was the best salesman, just a big burly man who's just like, yes. He's like, this is the agave plant and do whatever, and he would like do the taste test. Just the kind of guy that you would want selling you something that like makes you hungry. He's just like, here, I made you the spaghetti, and you're like, oh yes, thank you. Like he was a hearty man. And I remember he was given the sample shots out, and my son's next to me, and he's just like, you cannot have this. Do you have mustachio? And he's like, grow the mustachio and come back or whatever. So it was really cute. Just like the way they kind of sell that. It was very cool. But we did like 5 shots of tequila. I'm just like, and then they sent us snorkeling. I was like, great, 5 shots of tequila, go into the ocean. Perfect. Perfect activity to follow that. But yeah, it was fantastic. Tequila is aggressive if you have it here, and that stuff was only smooth and amazing. I mean, for $400. Which, when you see pesos, they only do everything in pesos on the receipt, and you see like 70,000 pesos on the receipt. You're like, oh my god! Then you're like, oh wait,
what did we order?
This is the transfer, got it, because the bottle we got was like $70, and it said like just like 6,000 pesos, and I'm just like, oh god! But it worked out. But yeah, I don't know, fun times all around. We had a good time. So all that to say, I did, like I said, we want to talk a little bit about the Mayans today. We planned this before the trip just so it'll be fresh in my mind about what I just visited. Have you ever visited, by the way? any of those?
No, I've been down to Mexico, and we were in one of the other islands off of Cozumel, kind of between Cozumel and Cancun. It was like a Playa del Carmen or something. We were at on one of our cruises that we went on, but that's the only time I've been in Mexico.
Yeah. So the big thing that I got for at least from the tour was really cool, but it's very mathematical. Like the whole thing, you know, obviously we've all heard about the Mayan calendar and stuff like that, but even without that, like the way they kind of did their structures has like everything has like a meaning to it. Even just from the steps alone, our guide was telling us about the steps that go up. Like you can't go up them like regular steps. You would have to go up them because they're kind of positioned like ramps, like going like this. So you actually walk them like this, and then when you leave, you walk them the same way. So at no point is your back facing the I guess what would be the tribesman or what's the shaman. So at no point would your back be facing that them. And it's also like a serpent, and that was like a big part of their whole thing. And but it was like the moon and the sun, and it seemed like the moon was like a bigger entity to them than the sun was really, as far as like the way he was explaining it and things, just like the fertility and stuff like that. It was a lot of it was like fertility based, and he was just like, we don't do sacrifices. That wasn't a thing. He's like, well, we did do there was a lot of like was it? He's like celebration of life and death, and he was just like the death, the marriage, you know, stuff like that. I don't know, a lot of jokes, but it was really cool. And just like it's just so funny to hear like them talk about how they were just a place that someone owned like a long time ago, like in like before they became like a tourist attraction. It was just like a ranch, and then the guy would like dug them up and he was like, yeah, this is just cool rocks that are on my in my place, and he just like is on a tourist attraction now. It'd be like the Great Wall of China. Oh, wow. Just like, yeah, this is just my fence.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So but they ended up selling it back to the Mexican government, and then you know they took it over, and now they take care of it. And there was like an irony between like the Mexican government came in and kind of decimated the place with all the stuff they did, and now they're like the exclusive like protectors of it. You know, obviously because specifically where we went, it's the only like that's their only export is tourism. Like they're an island, so they have no growing soil, so there's just nothing to make. Everything they make is kind of brought in. So like he was just talking, he was like, you guys are. He didn't say the product, but like he's like, you're the product that we like count on. So he's like, if you see anybody driving around with like guns and stuff, that's for you guys, not for us. Yeah, to make sure you guys are safe. So he's like, you'll be safe anywhere you go. I'm like, all right, I believe you.
Yeah.
But yeah,
phenomenal.
But yeah,
Cozumel itself, did the Mayans used to travel there in it was like a holy place for fertility and things like that?
Yeah. So pretty much it was like almost like a rite of passage for any female to go there and be I think you like give it offerings and it brought it back to you. So like that was the main kind of, it seemed like the source of it. I mean, we don't really know, right? Like what they really like the big temples, but they do know that they faced like directly to the stars, like specific stars back then. If you kind of
they had the alignments,
the sky moves, but if you like a astrologer or whatever will like line that up and see exactly what hit that. So, you know, which then leads to why a lot of people think that these things are more than, you know, just like we talked about the pyramids a couple weeks ago, like that, you know, for millions of years, we thought that these things had a specific, you know, thing about them. And then all of a sudden we find out there's like huge pillars underneath them. You know, that's like well, these aren't just this, what are they? You know, and like I said, like this stuff is kind of lost to history. So we don't really know like specifically what they were for. We can make a lot of educated guesses and talk to a lot of people like from that time, you know, like stories throughout history. We have a lot of their like old art that we kind of dug through, you know, their old stone carvings and kind of reverse engineering their language. I mean, like, oh, this meant this, this meant this.
Because they had the hieroglyphics, the Mayans, didn't they? That's what I thought.
Yeah, and I mean, when Mayan culture was at its peak was the exact time that we were in the dark ages in Europe, so like
Hmm.
when that was happening, they were in the mud, and these people are just like doing god math,
Hmm.
so like just the correlation of that is just like insane. So that's where these theories start to build up. It's like, well, if you have like this crazy just kind of understanding of like the stars and everything, it's like, how do you have that when on the other end of that it's just like so different. um that's where these like kind of things kind of lead into with a lot of different other elements. It's like the architecture of at least the one I ran into today, the architecture of the steps. The corners make this like exact like 9 steps up, and I think, what is it, nine something to heaven. It's like 9 steps to heaven or something like that.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I'm gonna get all this wrong. I just want to let you know. So do your own, like following up on all this. But uh, I'm just kind of building enough of what I was just last listening to and kind of absorbing some stuff, and
Hmm.
also the tour that I just went on. But yeah, they just, and there's a, what is it? There's a sculpture of a god that they have. I'm not going to try to pronounce it because I always get it wrong and it just makes me feel stupid. But basically, he looks like he's on a rocket ship. If you go in there with the idea that this is a rocket ship, it looks like
Hmm.
that's what he's doing. He's like sitting on something,
He's sitting on
and
the chair. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you can kind of think of it as like, whatever, like I don't know, like a rock. I don't know, what else would you say that is though? Like, it looks like a
Yeah.
tube, sort of like a rocket.
Yeah. And it looks like he's got his hand on like a gear shift or something. And I mean, it looks
Yeah.
like if you were to picture like an ancient Mayan astronaut in a sitting in a rocket ship getting ready to take off, that's what it looks like,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's just so much to it. And then so without any thought of what that is with their eyes, because back then they would have known what that was, like trying to interpret that, they would always think that would be a god, like no matter what.
Mhm.
So the other thing is that, like, you always kind of hear about aliens kind of doing that, like, will come with the culture that you understand, kind of like that masking
Mhm.
of, like, if you understand that a human is supposed to look this way, we'll make it look that way for you. So like maybe some
Mhm.
of those ideas is like, we understand that you guys have gods already, so like we're gonna make ourselves look like that, so it isn't is like, so we can give it you a structure to live in. So I just thought
Mhm.
that idea was like kind of fun to play with. But yeah, so like this guy just basically piloting a spaceship, and then he kind of passes that knowledge down to him.
Mhm.
Because I mean, listen, I don't understand how anybody figures out math in general. So like, it's always a little more exploding for me. I'm like, oh no, why? I can't believe you did that. But like astrophysicists or anything like that, because so
Mhm.
they could have just had just as easily just had like their own Stephen Hawking's that are just there, uh,
Mhm.
figuring it all out and be like, yeah, it's just, if you build the building this way, it
Mhm.
aligns with the stars, and I figured it out because I have all these tools and stuff like that, and they had nothing but time back then. You have to remember that everyone had nothing but time back then. They're
Yeah.
just burning daylight, and they're like, if as long as you get the food situation figured out, it's
Mhm.
it's all open road for your thought. So if you give the smartest guy in your village constant, like, just ability to go forward with his
Mhm.
thoughts and ideas, he could probably make something spectacular and figure
Mhm.
out this, like, essential, what's their clock, is there a name for their clock? I heard it called the long count, or but their
Yeah, there
calendar
was like
cycles.
the long calendar, the short calendar. I think they have
Yeah, yeah,
two different ones, whatever. But
yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's just crazy how many like parallels there are between like the Mayan culture in Egypt and in the pyramids, and just kind of
Mhm.
what's in mainland Mexico in Chichen Itza, and I'd love to go to that big complex there. Like that would be really cool to go to.
Yeah, the girl I work with said that she was able to climb it
Hmm.
long time ago when she went. I was like, I'm so jealous. She's like, yeah, you can't do it anymore, for obvious reasons. I'm sure that was like
Hmm.
over time that would just be like not even there because it would just crumble away. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, so their calendar cycles on a 5,125 years, and
Hmm.
that's where the whole scare in 2012 was like, well, their calendar ends then, so what happens
Yeah.
then?
Yeah.
Without, so, but if we're if we're gonna put our tin hats on there, that was the thought was that that's the middle of the universe, which isn't the thing, but like the center of the universe would basically start expanding outward and suck everything in, or really nobody knew what was going to happen. But there was like, I remember there being like a 2012 whole thing. I mean, there's a whole movie about it with John Cusack. So
I mean, maybe the world did end, and we're all just living in the Matrix now.
Oh man,
maybe we just didn't even notice that the world did end.
Dude, if the world did end and I'm still paying bills, I'm gonna be so mad.
I know, that's the worst.
If I'm still like, so my student loans are still due next month. Meanwhile, some guy in a starship like still paying you.
I remember back in leading up to 2012, and it was like, everything seemed legit. It wasn't so much like when you hear the stories about some crazy religious guy predicting the end of days, and he's like, yeah, it's gonna happen on Tuesday, May 5th or whatever, and you're like, all right, this guy says it's gonna happen. But then it doesn't. I mean, we just assumed that Mayan calendar, they never said, hey, the world's gonna end at the end of our calendar. That was just the end of that calendar, and then it starts over, does whatever their thing was, so it's like we were like, well, what happens next? We kind of made that calculation, as humans, or as modern humans, that something bad was going to happen at that point.
I mean, there's no other fun thought than having like finding out that or just trying to what is it, idea hunt about like how the world would at in some capacity end. It's the reason why movies like Independence Day are really cool. Movies like 2012 are really cool. It's fun to watch that kind of stuff kind of like thematically happen. You're just like, oh, that'd be really, really crazy, right? And then again, you wouldn't have to pay bills and that'd be really fun. So I mean, like that, as every couple of years we get kind of fed the world will end storyline about from either some group or this thing or an asteroid that's coming towards Earth. Actually, a fun thing that I didn't actually know about was the spot that the asteroid hit to killed all the dinosaurs was actually a couple mile or is in the same area as the like big temple ones, temples, the Mayan temples, and there was some thought about like, is there a correlation between that? Was that the eyes of the universe were like, hey, we just decimated this entire planet or whatever? I don't know how that all works, but obviously I don't know. But there's actually like what would seem like a dinosaur in one of their paintings, like just sitting there. And by the way, I do not subscribe to dinosaurs still being alive at any point. Like, really? I mean, I would love that. Yeah, that sounds super rad. Don't get me wrong, but like the dinosaur museum that's like in what was it? It was right next to where we had that bachelor party in Tennessee, right?
Oh,
the Noah's Ark thing
in Kentucky. Yeah, it was the great big Noah's Ark thing. Yeah, I was confused when you said Tennessee. I was like, what trip are you talking about?
I can never remember where we went. Whatever is right over the border. But yeah, so so they were just like, is there something there with that? And that was a fun little thing because I mean, listen, it won't be Monster Soup unless we don't mention dinosaurs at least once. So for those playing at home, drink. Oh, by the way, I'm gonna go back. So it's endless ice cream on the cruise, and so we're going way back.
That's the best part.
Best part of the cruise. My daughter had about 500 ice creams. I think she paid for the trip single-handedly. We got her money back for ice cream alone. Somewhere there's like a cruise person just like, where did the ice cream go? But it was the end of the night, so it was gonna be the last one. And then so we're in the elevator. All of a sudden, two kids come into the elevator, both with ice creams with their parents. And I was like, one more for the ditch. And they looked at me like a weirdo. And I was like, whatever. And then I kind of just like get back to the room and I was like, oh, wait, that doesn't mean anything to anybody. One more for the ditch. I was like, that is just a thing that we say. That isn't like an outside thing. And I was just like, because they looked at me like a weirdo. They're like, what does that even mean? Like one more for the ditch. I was just like, oh no, that's not a public thing for everybody. to fill everybody in, one more for the ditch is something that what Joe's dad did. Your friend Joe.
It was his saying was at the bar. You know, when it was time to go, he was like, "We'll have one more for the ditch." You know, it was basically like a joke, like your car would end up in the ditch because you were drunk driving. You know, so, it was it was a joke that it wasn't like something we actually did, but you know, so it was like, we'll have one more for the ditch. It was a joke, you know.
Yeah.
So
it's the gallows,
all the time,
the gallows humor of that. Yeah. So we always use it for like we're hanging out in the pool and there's like one more drink, and we're just like, I want one more for the ditch, and then I said it for children's ice cream, and they didn't understand.
Yeah.
Sorry,
context was all wrong.
What's you saying?
That's nasty.
I was looking at Joanne's comment in the thing. It said, you know, that her ex-father-in-law about cases of spam when the world didn't end. He gave us it, which you did not eat. I've heard spam is really good, by the way, if you cook it right. So I've heard people. The one girl I work with, she said that she was given a bunch of spam when she was living in Hawaii for like a year, and she was like, "It's actually pretty good if you know how to use it." And I'm like, "Okay." I've never had it in my life. Just canned meats aren't my jam. So but it's always good to prep, I guess, a little bit. It doesn't go bad, right? I don't really know the shelf life on spam. But I remember, what is it during what did you do during speaking of like the end of time stuff, you know, what did you do during Y2K? Like, where were you at? What were you doing?
The actual night of like
like at midnight.
Yeah, we were at a whole bunch of our friends. We used to always go New Year's Eve to like a hotel party where they give you like dinner, and it was like, you know, dinner and dancing, and you spent the night at the hotel kind of a thing. So we had done it every year for like a handful of years. So we went, and we're just like, well, if it goes down, we're all going down together at the party. And obviously nothing happened. And we got to the hotel. We were able to check in at like like 1 or 2 o'clock or whatever. And then, you know, we're watching on the TV, and as the day was going on, you know, it starts off, you know, oh, here it's New Year's in Australia, then China, and you know, Russia, all these other places. And it was like, well, nothing's happening for them, you know. And we're like, are we so self-centered to think, oh, well, Y2K, it's going to happen just, you know, when it hits the Eastern time, like nobody else is having any problems, you know. And everybody was worried about, you know, the nukes going off and everything. And once it was, you know, New Year's in Russia and their nukes didn't go off, it was like, nothing's going to happen. So by the time we went to dinner and stuff like that, like we were sure nothing was going to happen. But the one thing I do remember for them that evening, they had a band playing, and every other year they had like a DJ who played like awesome music. And this time it was like a bunch of old guys in like kind of a pseudo jazz kind of band. And then, you know, we're getting through the end of the night, and it was fine. They were playing, you know, some classics and stuff, and you know, we're drinking and having fun. But we're like, it's New Year's 1999. And the only song we want to hear is Prince's 1999. I've waited my whole damn life for this. They don't know it.
Oh my
gosh. Did
not
get to hear it. I was like, I've waited since 1982 to hear 1999.
Tonight we're gonna can you at least turn this off and turn that on?
Yeah. I'm like, can we stop with the you know, old timey, you know, stop playing the Charleston and let's hear some Prince, you know. I was so disappointed.
I was heavily disappointed about how much I didn't hear that song that year. I was like, I thought it would just be on a loop, like every hour we're playing this song until you're sick of it. And then that year came out, and it was just like, we played a smattering of times. Like I didn't I just thought that we all knew the assignment, and apparently nobody got my notes. I'm like, okay, I guess we're not playing the song every hour. Song's a banger.
Yeah, so
is.
Scott posted in the chat that he was at the Metallica show in Detroit on New Year's, and then I ended up the next day we went to the Metallica show in Cleveland. So Scott was at Metallica 2 nights in a row to ring in Y2K.
That's not a bad thing at all. That'd been fun.
Yeah,
it's like rocking out. I went to.
Oh yeah, he just posted. He just got into the chat. He was like, "Hey everyone, it was great." And then on New Year's Day, Brian and I saw him in Cleveland. Yeah,
just doubling up. Detroit, actually. Yeah. What was it? Oh, never mind. This story's stupid. I was in New Orleans. We'd never been there. I drove 120 miles per hour all the way down because it's middle of the night. It was just me and truckers going like as fast as we could, driving like an old car. I'm surprised, like thinking back, like why this car didn't explode is beyond me. I think it's just one of those like old timey cars. Just like don't do that. Like you do that to a Nissan, that thing's exploding. This thing was just like, I got you, don't worry about it. It's like an old ant that's like got a cigarette. He's like, it's like half hanging off. And like, I got you, buddy, don't worry about it. Like she flew all the way down. And we got there. We got there in 12 hours from Ohio. Like going so fast. But I don't know if that's like
so
possible,
did you go down there just to say, hey, I was in New Orleans for New Year's for Y2K, or was there a reason why you were going down there?
It was one of those things that you can only do when you're younger, which is just like, hey, we should do something. Let's go to New Orleans. Like,
just,
when you like
just
don't plan and
yeah.
just go. Yeah. So like literally it was like, I think like 5 o'clock or something like that. I don't remember what time it was. I don't know why I'm giving a time because I don't know what time it was. I just remember being like, do you want to do that? Yeah, that sounds cool. We should do that. And then it was me, my sister, my mom, and our friend. And then she had a baby at the time. So it doesn't make me feel good about the fact that I was going 120 now. But listen, you're young and I wasn't thinking about it. We were going so fast. We got there and just my mom went to the hotel room and hung out. And then we went out, me and my sister and our friend. And I remember she got one of those like Incredible Hulk drinks with like just every alcohol you can imagine. And she just like blacked out. And I'm like walking her like 3 miles. And like, this is before like you have a phone that knows where you're going. And I remember just being like, I don't know how to get to hotel. We never even been to the hotel. My mom went to the hotel and dropped everything off. And we just knew the name of it. And I'm just like, oh, so like just so untethered to like everything that's happening. And I remember just like when, the midnight happened, I was like, surely it's gonna go down, and then nothing. You're just kind of like, oh, we're still going. All right, let's party. And so we just did that, and then whatever. But yeah, I don't know. All that to say, like, and end of days things are always just like super interesting and fun to kind of like play with and be like, is this gonna happen? I've never prepped for anything. I just kind of go like, listen, the cards will fall as they may. I love dystopian future stuff, and I just hope to be able to stick to the shadows. I remember my wife actually said one time, because I used to think a lot about the zombie apocalypse and like how fun that would be. And my wife being like, why would you like that? You hate camping. Why would you like when you're only camping?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, you're right.
That's true. She makes a valid point. Yeah.
I was like, yeah, you're right. She's like, and you're not like a good survivor. Like you realize you would be one of the first waves dead. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. Damn it. I didn't think this all the way through. Still think it'd be really fun though. It's just like that untethering reality. I always kind of, whenever I'm walking my dog, I think about end time stuff. So I'm like, it'd be really cool if I could just let him off his leash. And that's like 99% of the reason why I think it'd be cool to be like in a dystopian future, because he could just kind of do that like I Am Legend thing where he just like walks alongside me while I walk with like a rifle, picking off vampires in the shadows. Yeah, I mean that's my main driving force for anything. Wait. Oh, yep. I know. 120 miles per hour is really fast. The thing is, if you're going through mountains in America and that's the eastern region, it's just a lot of. You can go really fast on those roads, except is it Kentucky? No, West Virginia. West Virginia is an absolute nightmare. All the roads are curved, every single one of them. I remember my wife is a really light sleeper, and every time I drive through it, she's just like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I can't. This road is unnavigatable. Like every one of them is turning. I'm like,
there's a turn about 100 feet. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's you're on the highway, so like you're trying to like keep speed, but then I have my cruise control on, and it's just like I have to slow down. Like this is insane. So because you're always going around a mountain somehow, but yeah, it's possible. Just saying, maybe don't do it, but. It's very possible. Yeah. I can't get a speeding ticket now, so I'm fine.
That's a young man's game.
Yep, I know. Listen, everything you do should be done when you're young, and then when you're older, you can think about how you should have been dead about 128 times. You go, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I jumped into water that I was unsure of what was at the bottom, and I can't believe I used to like just like climb on top of like Volkswagens to get out of said water and not get like hepatitis like while doing it. Just hanging from like rope swings over like rivers that were just rushing. You're just kind of like, it's gonna be sweet, and then you get pulled down like 600 like almost half a mile down the river, then you just get out and you run back to the same spot, you jump back in, you're like, this is great.
Yeah.
Then, you're just like seconds away from getting javelined by some rogue stick or whatever, but you're just like, that's what we did. So
we didn't have the internet and video games, so we were forced to live to our own fruitions. Our parents said go outside and use your imagination. Well, that's what we did.
My imagination is mostly just like, all right, how can I die today? we'd play games like Manhunt, which I found out recently that not everybody knows what that game is, and it's pretty much just tag with. You're playing tag, but you play it with like sticks and rocks. You go into the woods, and the way you tag people is with sticks and rocks. You basically play, it's hide and go seek and tag at the same time. So you have to hit somebody with the rock and or stick, and you have to try not to get found. My one friend was really, really good at it, to the point where he would be across the river staring at us, throwing rocks at us, and we'd be like, hey, and then we'd be looking for him, and you couldn't see him. He would like American Sniper style, just like he was the tree, and you trying to find him, and we'd both get hit by rocks, and I look across, and he's just right there. Like he wasn't even anywhere else. He was just there. I was just like, he was just really good at like blending in and playing that game.
We played a similar game. But we just called it throw rocks at your friends. There's still like end game to it, or a real strategy. It was just like pick up a rock, throw it at your friends.
I mean, listen.
Try not to kill them, but but when you do hit them, then you point and laugh and belittle them the whole rest of the day.
And if you hit them really good, you run away and never talk about it again. You go, I don't know, I was in the woods with Jeff, and he fell.
Whatever happened to Billy? I don't know. For the one day we played for rocks at your friends and never saw him again.
All of a sudden, he's eating soup for the rest of his life. What happened to him? He must have fell in the woods when I wasn't there. Never to be found. Oh God. I grew up in a
creative childhoods.
Yeah. I mean, I literally growing up in like a lake town, there was just nothing. I mean, it's one of those things when you get older, you're like so peaceful. I love it. But when you're younger, you're just like, there's nothing to do here. Why would everybody stay in that stupid place? But then when you have kids, you're like, oh, I'll come back. It's nice. But I still go back, and I like the back. What is it? The back, like there's like a porch in the back of one of our not porch, but like a screened in kind of area, patio area. That's like kind of tiny, but it's got like a couple picnic benches. And I just go back there and I just smell weed, and I'm like, welcome back. Like it's one of those things where it's so nostalgic, like that smell plus my town. Like it's just like I immediately am reminded of like every fun thing that we've ever done growing up, and just getting into trouble and doing all this stuff. And I immediately walk in there and they're like, Dave, and I'm like, hey, what are you guys doing? They're like, it's always just like doing the same thing they were doing 20 years ago kind of thing. We're just all grown up now. We have kids. It's just, I don't know. It's just fun. It's fun to see the people that you grew up with kind of like grow up in like a way, but then also like kind of revisit that time where you're just kind of like, man, this is good now, right? It's good. We're all good. I'm like, yeah, we're good. We made it. Because you never know when you're a kid. You always think like, oh, I'm gonna die at 22, or I don't know if everybody's thinking that, but I just like I'll rip roar until I'm just in the ground, and then you find different purposes, and you go, maybe I'll stick around a little longer, and maybe I won't throw myself off a bridge and try to land into the water without checking it first. You like my one friend, I wanted to go on one of those rides where they like slingshot you up in the air, like you're on the tether or whatever, and it's really fun. And he had a tree fall on him at random, and it landed on his arm. But like, I mean, you know about the story, but like they don't. So it landed on his arm and just broke his shoulder. But that tree falling just a centimeter over, because it clipped his ear, it bounced off his ear and hit him in the shoulder. I was like, dude, if you were sitting just a little bit over, that thing would have slammed in your head. and like we would be like, you would be in just like a scooter right now, like, you know, like immobile, because it was insane. Like it literally came out of nowhere. No one had any time to react. It literally was just like, we're sitting around a fire, all of a sudden there's a giant tree in the middle of the fire pit, you know, the fire circle. And honestly, like it was one of those situations where he's like, we were trying to figure out who's going to sit where, and it could have easily been like, oh, I'll sit here, but I sat at the other chair and he sat at the one chair, so it could have been switched the roles immediately. And I'm a little more Italian with my hand movements, so like I probably would have been like leaning over or something stupid and just clipped my head. So yeah, it's just one of those things where you're like, it's well, oh, all that to say, he was just like, I asked him to go on one of those things, and he was just like, yeah, I'm a little more like cautious about that stuff because I got 3 kids and I don't want to leave them fatherless, so I don't really put myself in those situations at all anymore. He's like, obviously those things are tested, but I don't want to do it. But how do we get here? There's somebody sitting there just like, wasn't this episode about Mayan temples?
we went way off course this week. Yeah. We said all that to say that Mayan culture is pretty cool.
Oh man. Wait, hold on. I just want to read what Joanne's saying. Jumps in the creek and missed and getting us. Ooh. Submerged slick in that place. Wait, what's the submerged slick? What's that?
Jumped in the creek and missed getting a submerged slick in a place you really don't want to. Okay. I get
Sorry, we're reading the chat. I'm sure this doesn't translate to anybody.
Like I'm ADHD, and I feel like I'm at home here. Yeah, Dave is full on ADHD. You never know where it's gonna go.
Okay, she got a stick in a place you don't want to. Got it. Okay, sorry. So her thing said she jumped in a creek and missed it, but and getting a submerged stick in a place you really don't want to. I got a little caught up in the details. So I probably could have figured that out if I would have thought about it at all. Yeah, you don't want to do that. I've luckily never landed on a stick in the water that I can remember. Maybe I blacked it out.
So it's a 1 in a million shot.
Yeah, I just happened to get the million. But yeah, so the Mayan temples, we'll go back to that. I mean, the whole idea of it, of everything, you know, here is really to say that, like, you know, they had technology before they should have had it, you know, that we can think of, you know, same thing goes for like, how do you pronounce it? Is Gobekli Tepe? The ancient place that sounds like Gobekli Tepe, but it's probably the wrong saying. But you know,
that's in Peru, right?
Yeah. Basically, you know, like they found they were doing things that we hadn't even discovered yet, like hundreds of years before we even thought that we were capable of doing them. Like, so our like timeline of like the way this stuff all worked is just like it's skewed and it's off because we just were like, oh, I can't do it yet. But like really it's like, oh no, we could have done it. It's just, you know, maybe these things were kind of just like shooting around and stuff like that. I don't know, the idea of that is really cool. And like I said, there could have just been a Stephen Hawking that lived in that building thing. They just let him rip and roar. You know, there's a lot to like the cool stuff that we're capable of, that, you know, was either handed down to us or, you know, by a higher source that, you know, figure that out. Did, you know, some aliens come down and just like give us some math lessons real quick and be like, listen, this is how it works. Here's the sun. If you put it here, it works out. It puts some things. Maybe they kind of added all the like, we're worshiping you, kind of add into that. They add their own interpretation onto what just happened. But you know, I don't know what the end game would have been there, because that was a just like ripped away society. Like they don't even exist in any form other than like, you know, the stories they tell through the architecture. But yeah, I don't know. There's just,
and to think, you know, the bulk of the society, you know, went down when like Cortez came from Spain and just decimated them, and then, you know, spread like, was it the measles or something? They spread the European diseases on them and wiped most of them out until they all kind of just scattered. It was like a whole, you know, ancient culture was brought down by the measles.
I know,
and one crazy Spaniard, you know, who wanted some territory.
I know. I wonder. I was thinking about that while I was on the trip. I was just like, I wonder if they would have like let it alone, you know, and not done all that. Like
I kept saying measles. It was smallpox. Smallpox is what they spread. Yeah.
And I mean, just like the folly of man, of just us just being terrible people and coming in and like, you know, just completely decimating an area and then trying to deal with that and being like, what does that all mean for us? You know, it's just like for history purposes alone, like we're just like missing these chunks of history just because like of conquering and wanting to own a little more of the map. And I just wonder, like, you know, because I still think this is still something I still think about like all the time. It's like, I can't believe we still have war. Like, why is war still a thing? Like we're in like a different age now. Like we don't have to do these things. Like our maps aren't really changing a lot. Like, you know, they're kind of all staying about the same. So at this point, like, what are we? I don't know. It's still weird to me. I know it's a lot of it's resource based and stuff like that, but I don't know. I just feel like we're all, if we figured out indoor plumbing, we can figure out like how to not shoot each other anymore. It's like, oh my God, guys, figure it out. But you know, and I'm not part of those. Oh God. Speaking of, I don't even know I should bring this up because it ruined my day. Which it should have. I mean, if it didn't ruin my day, I feel like I need to check my meter. But it was just a video of Palestine, and there was this little boy that's on top of a roof. He's just covered in dust and blood, and then it cuts to it was so bad. It cuts to the reporter kind of talking about it. He's like across the way, and he's just kind of filming it. And cut to like a baby that's just in half, and I was just like, "Oh my God!" I just like had to put my phone down because I was on TikTok, and I knew the next one would be like a dog or something, and I was like, "I can't. That can't be like. I need to sit with this for a minute." So I literally put it down, and it was just like staring at the wall. I was like, "This is so terrible." And then I started reeling from that. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, oh, like why do we still do this? And then, you know, like just having this kind of like spiral of like, you know, which I should have had. Like I was a human emotion from that specific situation. So it's and just being like feeling so powerless and helpless and really not even like understanding the entire situation. I've kind of, because I'm not as versed in like all that stuff, I've been very kind of back off about that stuff because I don't understand any of it. Like Middle Eastern politics, just like I confused the crap out of me. And I'm not in the position.
But you know, tragedy when you see it, you know, when you see a baby laying there cut in half and a kid, you know, that's just because heartbreaking. Yeah.
That baby doesn't know, you know, like none of those kids know. Everyone's grown. Like we were born here. The only reason why we're on this side is because we were born here. If we were born in Mexico, we were born like we would have that mentality. If we were born in Canada, we would have, you know, we'd be eating Tim Hortons and, you know, stuff like that. You know, it's just like we're all born in our situations. And, you know, that little kid didn't know. And I think my favorite piece of photography that makes me humble all the time is these kids. They're having a bath with their dad and they're smiling and happy. The backdrop of that is they're in a blown out building in a tub. That's the only thing in the room. But it's just rubble everywhere else. But they're just playing in the bubbles their dad made for them. And I'm just like, oh, like we don't know tragedy. Like I don't even know the concept. If whatever trauma I have is like it's like the pale blue dot of seeing Earth from Saturn, you know, like from the rings of Saturn, that from the car. I can't think of his name right now. But yeah, it's that same idea of this, like whatever I'm thinking is really, really bad. These kids have seen that and moved on. And hopefully not gotten radicalized from it, but it's so oppressive to like think that these things are going on and that we're still doing these things. That we're still trying to like conquer these lands or like just like put our mindsets into people that don't want it. It's such an upsetting thing. I didn't mean to talk about this, but it just popped in my head and like I didn't want to really, because it just changes the vibe. But I feel like those vibes, you know, uncomfortable things are uncomfortable because they should be uncomfortable. You should live in those moments, and it's really upsetting to see these things, especially when it comes to kids, just who don't deserve it, who have no sides. They're just there, and they have to choose a side with their body, and their body is just, I mean, it's rough. So don't seek that out if you don't want to ruin your day, but do seek it out if you want to just like see where we're at as humanity and where we should be. Is nothing that shouldn't have happened. None of that should happen. We should still have these histories that exist still. We shouldn't be trying to conquer things that are kind of established. It's an upsetting time to live in, specifically now when when we're able to like live stream war. I think that's when we should stop doing war. You know, because again, we're all from the nation we're from, and our ideologies are built on those. So like we have to be able to see both sides of it and come to a middle point and be like, hey, like there's a disagreement here, but like, let's let cooler heads reside here and go like, hey, like this is where we're putting. Obviously, there's some bad things that happen in different cultures, and we kind of put it into that and be like, hey, we're all like humanitarian efforts and doing all that stuff, while also respecting, religion and like where everyone's coming from and things like that. It's it's a weird time. I don't know.
Yeah.
Making me upset. I'm really upset now.
It's sad all the way around. We should be above that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but we're not. I don't know. Weird place to end, but
yeah. Now that we brought the whole mood down. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that, everybody. But like I said, sometimes you got to live it in a uncomfortable moment to understand the weight of it all. But just make a difference where you can. Really, like I was saying, I wasn't absorbing that information because I can't do anything about it because I'm not over there and I'm not in that world. But you can make differences at your home. Your hometown. Get in politics if you can locally. If you find, this guy posted something like about something, I was like, dude, you can just run for office, right? Like that's a thing you could just do. So if you see issues with things, fight for them, or find people who can. It's sometimes the hardest thing is finding the people that can actually make change. That's the biggest hard thing. You got to find the people out there that go like, hey, we need another community rec center. Talk about it with your people, make it happen. It's the one cool thing about living in America is that we're all allowed to kind of start to make change and still talk about it for now. We should express that in as many ways as we can. And if you're capable of stopping an entire war, I think you probably should. Yeah. So get out there and fight. Now stand up for your belief. I mean, if whatever you believe in, I think there should be, you should feel, I think some people say like, if somebody's like a singer or something and they start talking about things that aren't maybe in their wheelhouse, everybody, if they have a voice, should talk about the things that they feel are important to them, whether that be, people or a disease that maybe wrecked their family or just anything. If you have the ability to change it in any monochrome way, even if you get somebody to kind of come to your side on it, I think it's always important to talk about it. Like, listen, there's this and this and this, and the right people will hear it. The wrong people will never listen. Anyway, so you just got to know that you're at least talking to one person and make one person's life change in any way they can. So I don't know. do your thing. Spread positivity we can. And this has been Monster Soup this week. And we apologize that we didn't talk about the Mayan Temples.
We'll see you next week at the Bigfoot conference.
Yeah. So, but yeah, thanks for joining us every Friday. Yeah. We have a good time, and we talk about all the things that we find enjoyable. I am passionate. There's a reason why I am filled with joy is because I know where I stand. So, yeah, we are live every Friday at 5. Hopefully, we're live next week at next Friday at 5. If we're not, some stuff went down and we couldn't figure out internet connection because, like I said, we're going to be in the middle of nowhere. We'll double check, make sure that happens. I would love to have a revolving mic where we can just kind of sit there and talk. But if it doesn't happen, you'll see a pre-recording up, and who knows what we're talking about. But no, we're having a good time talking to some cool Bigfoot people, and hopefully we will kind of gather all those people in our orbit, and you'll get to hear about them for the next couple weeks with their cool stories. So you will get some Bigfoot stories after this. That is for sure. So if that's what you're into, that's definitely what we'll have, because I'm nothing if not an enjoyer of fun stories. I've been trying to get them on here. I just don't know anybody with cool Bigfoot stories aside from this place that I go to, this magical little warehouse of joy that I've found at the Bigfoot conference. So yeah, we'll hopefully have a bunch of those people on. We'll bring the spooky scaries to you and right off into the summer. So
well, Joanne, you're gonna have to fill us in next time. She said she saw Bigfoot.
Oh, you come at the 11th hour and say you saw Bigfoot. Well, Joanne,
we probably got a couple of minutes.
I mean, listen, no, this is what I want Joanne to do. I want Joanne to go to our comment section or go to our Monster Soup podcast, and I want her to get on the show. If you don't want to, that's fine. I'm just saying monstersouppodcast@gmail.com. I would love to have you on. we can talk about Bigfoot. If not, just get in the comment section next week because I have not eaten today. And I probably need to do that before I get even more loopy. I just have coffee in me. So my ADHD brain is just like a little tornado. And I'm sweating so bad. I'm wearing a hoodie and it's actually warm out today. Yeah. So thank you guys for joining us every Friday at 5. I'd love to hear your stories if you're into them. So yeah, Monster Soup Podcast at gmail.com, Monster Soup Podcast at Facebook. And if you want to check out my silly art that I do a daily drawing where I draw kids art. It's Mischief Factory at Mischief Factory on TikTok. I also do it on Instagram under the Mischief Factory. So mischief as in things that you do to get into trouble, and factory as in the place that people work sometimes. So Mischief Factory, 2 F's. I mumble a lot and people are like, what are you saying? What are the words you're saying? I'm like, oh, but yeah. So thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. You know what, Joanna, everything ADHD does rock. It is my little buddy that is like shooting me in every direction. And it's like jumping rock to rock and then not knowing where that rock's going to go. And sometimes you fall into the water. And then you go down the river, bringing this conversation full circle. It's like going to the park, falling into the water, and getting sent down the river.
And just, well, thank you, everybody. Hope you don't get that stick in the wrong spot.
Yeah, don't stick that stick in the wrong spot. All right, thanks for joining us, everybody. Bye.
We'll see you next time. Thanks.